Welcome to the Town of Corte Madera Planning Commission for Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. Please take a roll call.
Commissioner Bendel, Commissioner Bushoyer, here. Commissioner Rogers,
Here.
Vice Chair Kenny,
Here.
and Chair Chase.
Here. Please join me in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, we have no monitors. I don't know if anybody knows that. Can't see anything. So we presume we're on camera, but we don't know. See that? So anyway, in any case, I would like to take this opportunity to get introduced to the new attorney for the Planning Commission. So.
Thank you, Chair Chase. Amy, thank you everyone for having me today. Commissioners, my name is Erica Gonzalez. I am a senior associate with Redwood Public Law. We've recently been engaged by the town to serve as city attorney and or town council. That's a force of habit. Town council. And I have the pleasure of having the opportunity to work with staff in community development, planning commission as well. So I will be seeing you more regularly. I look forward to working with you all, meeting you all, learning more about the town and answering any questions you may have.
It's great. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you.
And we don't proceed anywhere without an attorney present. So anyway, all right. At this moment in every meeting, we invite public comment for that which is not on the agenda tonight. So if there's something besides this agenda item that you want to speak about, please stand up, and you have 3 minutes. Claire, we'll see if there's anybody online that would like to speak to anything not on the agenda.
No hands are raised online.
All right, no hands, no participants here, so we're going to close that public comment section. Tonight, we have an item on the agenda that is titled 2 Verona Place. This is a design review application PL 25-0049 for a 720 square foot second story addition and 1,806 square foot first story addition to the existing 1-story residence. So that's our ticket item tonight. So I believe that this is going to be your presentation, Tracy.
It is. Thank you, Chair Chase. As you stated, this is a public hearing for 2 Verona Place. They have a design review application for a new 720 square foot second story and additions to the first story at the existing 1-story home. Excellent. 2 Verona Place is on the west side of the Verona Place cul-de-sac as shown on this screen. The Verona Place subdivision contains 7 parcels ranging in size from 0.81 acres to 1.68 acres, and each of them are developed with a single family home. The project site itself is nearly 1 acre, just over 43,000 square feet. To the east and south, the subdivision is surrounded by single family homes. Across the street to the north is San Clemente Park and the Cove School, also surrounded by single-family homes. And to the west, behind and above the project site, is Hillside Church of Marin. As I said before, 2 Verona Place is developed with a single-family home. It's 1 story. It's 3,809 square feet, and also has a 710 square foot attached garage. It was built in 1997 as a 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom single-story home. On April 16th, 2025, a building permit was issued for a 247 square foot single-story addition to the south elevation of the home to accommodate the reconfiguration and remodeling of the existing primary suite. Design review is not required for an addition of that size. The building permit also included renovation of the bathrooms, the kitchen, and the laundry area, and included replacement of all of the windows and all of the siding. The construction of the project is nearing completion. Next slide, please. On this slide are existing, proposed, and required development standards. All the parcels in the Verona Place subdivision are zoned R1B, very low density residential. The proposed additions meet all R1B zoning regulations, including height, setbacks, lot coverage, and parking. The R1B zoning district does not have floor area standards. Only the R1 medium density and R1A low density zones have floor area standards. The project includes a 720 square foot new second story, the addition of 1,806 square feet to the existing first story of the home. The existing attached 710 square foot 3-car garage will be demolished to accommodate the construction of the new wing of the home in its place. The maximum overall height of the home would be 21 feet, 3.2 inches, which is below the 30-foot height limit. The existing home is 20 feet, 6 inches in height. The additions would be positioned to the north of the existing home at the location of the attached 3-car garage. The first story addition would extend the footprint of the home closer to the east, west, and north property lines. The addition to the first story is outlined in red on this slide, and the addition of the new second story is outlined in blue. Dashed blue lines show the positioning of the roof deck and the highest ridge of the first story rec room extending off the back. The additions would be set back over 62 feet from the front property line, 30 feet is required, and over 86 feet to the rear property line where 50 feet is required. The additions are closest to the north property line along Paradise Drive, proposed to be set back 31.5 feet from the north property line where 30 feet is required. This slide is showing the new first floor plan. The blue outline is indicating the areas of addition to the first floor. Red is indicating the existing 3-car garage that will be demolished to accommodate the new one. Additions to the first floor total 1,806 square feet and would include a new rec room, gym, full bathroom, bike storage, and the 2-car garage. This slide is showing the new second floor plan with the blue outline illustrating the footprint of the new second floor. It would be 720 square feet and would include 2 office areas and an uncovered roof deck above the northernmost portion of the first story addition. The roof deck is approximately 325 square feet. Here we have the east elevation of the home, which faces the front property line along Verona Place. It includes the main body of the building, the front entry, and the side of the 3-car garage. The portion of the first story addition that extends towards the front property line is the new 2-car garage. The height of the garage is approximately 14 feet, 10 inches. The background extending to the north at the first story is the portion of the first story addition with the roof deck above it. This portion of the addition is the gym and is 14 feet, 7 inches in height. The east elevation includes 3 windows of varying shapes and sizes. The one proposed on the second story is at the office. One window is proposed in the garage and a larger window at the gym on the first floor. The west elevation faces the rear yard. The rec room extends from the middle of the addition towards the rear property line. The height of the rec room addition is 19 feet, 9.4 inches with an interior vaulted ceiling height of 18 feet, 7.3 inches. The west elevation includes 2 3-panel sliding doors that would provide access to the rear yard from the rec room. West elevation of the first story gym, which is the leftmost portion on your screen, also includes a window and a door. The second story does not have any windows on the west elevation. This slide is showing the south elevation of just the addition. It faces the interior of the lot and is connected to the main body of the residence via the laundry room. 3-panel sliding glass door is also present on the rec room on this side, and along with a large window The rear of the proposed attached garage is at the east end of the south elevation, so on the right-hand side of the first story on the slide. It includes 2 windows, and the 2 windows are separated by a living wall trellis, which is plants that will climb the attached trellis. Roof line of the second story is visible on the south elevation and also does not have any windows. This slide is showing the south elevation again, but this time is showing the entire home. So the addition would be in the background of this slide. And lastly, the north elevation faces Paradise Drive. The garage door opening is visible facing north, as well as the glass door at the proposed second story office that leads to the proposed roof deck. The roof deck is recessed into the roof line of the first story below, which is the gym portion of the first story. The west end of the north elevation, so to the right edge of the screen on the slide, is the recreation room portion of the first story addition. It's nearly as tall as the second story. It's 19 feet, 9.4 inches, and no windows or doors are proposed on the rec room portion on this elevation. The applicant shared details of their proposed project with all of the neighbors on Verona Place, as mapped on this slide. The applicant provided a summary of all of those contacts, which is attachment 3 to your staff report. One letter of support was received from the owner of 6 Verona Place, which is also included with attachment 3 to the staff report. The applicant's neighbor outreach consisted of a public, a neighborhood meeting at the owner's home, which was held October 14th, 2025. Those who couldn't attend that meeting were sent a PDF of the plans and project renderings. A second meeting was held October 28th of 2025 with the owners of 1 Verona Place across the street, who expressed some initial concerns that the design of the project at that time had a potential to block the view of Mount Tam. The owner of 1 Verona Place at that time also met with staff to discuss the project at this stage. This is showing a rendering of that design from 2025. Their initial application materials proposed additions of over 3,000 square feet and included a covered roof deck on the second story addition, as shown on this slide. The height of the home was proposed to be approximately 27.5 feet. I think my staff report said 26.5, but that was an error. It's 27.5 feet at that time. Given the size of the project and the concerns raised by the owner of 1 Verona Place, staff and the applicant determined that installation of story poles before scheduling a public hearing would be a good idea. It would give the neighbors and interested members of the public a better understanding of project impacts. Story poles for the initial project were installed November 10th, 2025. And following installation of story poles, the applicant revised the project to reduce the size and height of the additions. And this slide is showing the difference. These revisions were made to better align with the owner's preferences and in response to the concerns raised by the owners of 1 Verona Place. The second story was reduced to 720 square feet, and the roof over the deck was removed from the project. The height of first story additions were reduced and ceiling heights were lowered. The roof design was also modified to further lower the massing of the additions. The proposed overall maximum height of the residence was reduced from 27.5 feet to 21 feet, 3.2 inches. And following the design change, the applicant shared the revised project plans with all the neighbors that were previously contacted. On January 20th, 2026, revised story poles were installed to illustrate the new project. And on February 4th, staff contacted the owner of 1 Verona Place regarding the revised project. His outstanding concern was related to the roof deck and its potential to be covered by a structure, trellis, or roof, or some overhang in the future. And the commission could consider adding a condition of approval for this project that would prohibit the roof deck from being covered with any type of structure like that in the future. There's a materials board at the dais for you if you haven't seen it. And as part of the building permit that was issued in the spring of last year for remodeling the home, it included replacement of all of the windows with black metal clad wood windows and new siding. The home it's already been painted Benjamin Moore Chantilly lace, which is a creamy white. The proposed colors and materials for the additions will match the existing. This slide is showing additional renderings of the proposed project from a couple of different vantage points from Verona Place. And then the next slide is showing from the rear yard and then from Paradise Drive. Staff is recommending approval of this application. An analysis of all design review findings is included with the draft resolution. I am available for questions. The architect is present, as is the owners.
Thank you, Tracy. Before we get to a presentation by the applicant, do the commissioners have any questions for staff right now? Anything you want to ask for clarity? Go ahead there.
Yes, I just have a few questions. Since there is already ongoing construction based on a 2025 application, when we talking about the existing condition, does that include a presumption that that construction is complete? An existing condition will be there for, as it is, including that 470.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then with that said, also just clarification. So when we're talking about the lot coverage, which is just shy of 15% maximum, then when we're looking at the total square footage that the home will include, so that totals into 16% based on the page 6, but that's based on the floor area ratio, or is it based off?
Just the footprint of the home. So there's an extra 720 square feet, right, of the second story that's on top of the footprint of the lower story. So that's why numbers would be different. It's just a bird's eye view lot coverage.
All right. And then how do we, I guess, check for the the final plan check? Is there anyone, because it's such a small threshold between like 0.2%, is there anyone going to be checking the lot coverage so it actually complies with the 15% maximum? Or
Yes, carefully. Matter of fact, there's a couple of structures that they're removing because they prefer to allocate the lot coverage in that way. So an example is there's a couple of sheds that they're removing that are lot coverage. And there's a trellis in the rear yard I don't think it's shown on these plans, but that is coverage as well, would need to be removed from the project. So there's it's checked carefully by staff, and any structure that's over 3 feet in height, including their pool equipment shed, would count towards lot coverage. So yes, we will be checking that again carefully.
Do we have in town any buffers, like in terms of the percentage, to allow for the, after the construction, some discrepancies that could happen?
In the R1 zone, we allow an extra 2% of coverage for like a trellis or covered patio, but not in this zone. The flood hazard area gets an additional 4% coverage if they need to raise their house and have raised areas. But this zone does not have any extra. So once they construct this project, they have, I think, 86 square feet left of lot coverage for a shed or whatnot. But after that, that's it. They would have to start removing portions of structures in order to have more lot coverage. And we have recently adjusted lot coverage in 2017 for the R1 zone, but we have not had lot coverage variances for R1B. So when we do variances, that tells us we have a problem and we need to change our code. But it's been sufficient, and it results really in a lot of coverage if you think how large R1B lots really are.
Got it. And are there any precedents on Verona place where we have conditioned the size or massing, allowing for the reductions, even though the zone codes have been met and zone requirements have been met.
We don't have a maximum of a cap on floor area in Corte Madera for any of our zoning districts that use floor area. If our floor area standards were applied to control development in the R1B zone, just strict application of the existing would give them 40% coverage, which is something like 17,000 square feet of floor area. But you know, we also have similarly sized 1 acre lots that are in R1A where their coverage would be 40 square feet. I mean, excuse me, 40%. So it results oftentimes in quite a large allotment for some of the larger size lots in Corte Madera.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yep.
No questions at this time.
Nothing's working. When the permit was given for the 2025 edition, was there any mention, or was this second edition included in that in any way?
No. So I think their application for this design review was made in August, so about 4 months or so after that building permit was issued. And that building permit would have probably been submitted and under review by the town for a couple of months at least. So earlier in 2025 is when they would have submitted that building.
Is there anything, would there be any procedural difference by the town, by the review, if those two permits were given together, or if those two requests, proposals were made into one and given together? So it would be about a 7,300 square foot addition.
The addition that's just been finished is included in the house size that's in your plan set. And procedurally, to answer your question, we look at this total of all additions being made on one plan set, if you will. And I think if the 247 square foot addition came after this project, for instance, they would have a permit amendment process. But in the case of the addition, the threshold for design review for an addition in R1B is 500 square feet. So they could have added up to 500 square feet before they would have needed design review. And at that point, you know, it's always best to understand the whole scope of a project, and we have those conversations. But am I answering your question at all?
Yeah, it kind of does.
Just for clarity, Margaret, just for clarity, you asked if it was a 7,000 square foot, it's actually a 2,500 square foot addition, right? Okay, all right.
I was looking at the totals.
All right. Anything else?
Nothing else.
All right, thank you. So at this time, we would ask the applicant to make their presentation to us. Who will do that? Okay, make sure you speak into the microphone and get on tape.
John Donovan here, co-owner of Two Verona Place with my wife, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie Donovan. We've been at Verona Place for about 7.5 years now, and we're building it out to make it our forever home.
That was essentially what I was going to say. We spent 7 years trying to imagine it, and now we're sort of envisioning a multi-generational place that will just stay forever. Neighbor at One Verona Place is also standing next to us.
Hi, okay. So then your architect is going to speak to us then.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Hello. My name's Adam Frank. I'm the architect. And I think that Tracy did a really good job of presenting the project. It's a relatively simple addition, but I think it's worth going over some of the design considerations we took through the process and overview of the project for you so you could get a better understanding and potentially have more questions. So just to go into some of the overall introduction. It's a ranch style home. I think it's the only ranch style on Verona Place. All the other homes are 2 stories. So initially we had wanted to build a 2nd story above the garage to be a home office. And as we went through that process, we had a pretty good process with neighbors. And also, I think John also had some change of heart with how big the mass of the building is. So we changed the design a little bit in the process. And the final result really ended up trying to keep the roof line consistent with the existing house. And so that it respected some of the neighbors' views towards Mount Tam. And also it just felt like some of the visual lines and design angles of the existing roof actually worked out to be a little bit nicer, I think, in the final project. So if you could go to the first floor plan. Yeah, there you go. That's a good one. That shows all 3 floors. So the existing house, John's currently working in a bedroom, and the goal is to have an additional office. It's separate, more private. So that's one of the big goals. And then Jackie and John also currently have a home gym in the garage with no parking. So we thought we would expand the fitness area so they have a separate attached gym. And then we reduced the parking to just 2 cars instead of 3. And then in addition, their kids and wanting to host parties, wanted to include a fitness or a recreation room, which has a pool table and it opens up onto the yard. So that's really the scope of the project. You enter this addition through the main kitchen down a hallway and you step down. So a lot of the addition is at grade. Which I think is a nice feature for the recreation room to walk out onto the yard. I'd like to go to some of the elevations. You could roll. I think it's actually worth going back one. I could describe the roof deck. There you go. We did have the 2nd roof addition previously, but we decided to pull it back to increase the view. But I think it's nice to have a little bit of open space on the 2nd level. So we have a deck that opens up off the office. So that could be utilized. That's just the roof plan there. You can see it's a relatively small deck, about 300, just over 300 square feet. And the roof lines are all consistent with the main house. If you want to go to the next, this illustrates, I think, best, just trying to keep the main truss of the house consistent with the existing. And there's some pitched roofs above the main entry that we also tried to pick up above the garage. So we're being consistent with some of the detailing was previously. And then the materials, I think, yeah, it's good. You go to the 3D view. That's nice. Oh, the back. Okay. If you want to go, that's perfect. If you want to go to the back. So the back is also, there's currently 3 wings on the back of the house. And we thought the 4th addition would be consistent in scale. It's a little bit bigger. So we have a hip roof and the corner glass window is a slider that opens up onto the yard. And then going through the materials, if you want to go to the perspective views, you can see we have the same V-groove siding on the main house and then the metal clad wood windows with copper gutters throughout. So it's a pretty simple palette just to match the existing home. And that's kind of a summary. I think, if you have any questions, happy to address anything.
We will see here, so don't move. I'll start with Margaret and see if she has any questions for you as the applicant.
Now, had you considered relocating the front door so it's more central to the entire building?
So that would involve a major renovation to the existing house, and we didn't really change the layout of the existing house. One thing we did kind of keep in mind was the setback on the front door is kind of in plane with the porch. So that way that visual line is just as prominent. And I think the way that if you want to go to the site plan, there's a driveway that kind of curves through the house. So it's through the front yard. If you go to a 1.1 early in the set. The current driveway, there you go. You could maybe even zoom in, or you can see is a kind of arched driveway, and that really designates the front entry. So we didn't feel like it was necessary to change the front entry. Hopefully that can answer your question.
Yes. Had you considered solar panels?
In fact, we already have 2 power walls and a really substantial solar system on the existing house. So that's going to be, there's some solar panels on the existing garage that will be relocated onto the new garage. But the main house has, do you know how many kilowatts you have? 4 battery packs. Yeah, there's a lot of solar on the house. It's 20 kilowatts. So that's a good thing. And then everything in the addition is going to be electric. So
Has there, I live in that area, right? I watched your house being built, actually. Have you ever had a problem with drainage from the church hillside coming down?
so yeah, so I know that the geological report, there's been some sensitivity to that area because there's been settling. So we have had a separate geotech report completed, and we're doing special piers. But fortunately, this site is very stable. I think some of the upper lots might have some slumping, but it's not a problem on this one because it's probably the lower of all the lots. In terms of drainage, it's not an issue. So
That's it.
Right. Thank you, Margaret. Andrew, any questions?
I just had one question out of curiosity. Is that a walkable skylight on the roof deck?
currently, yeah, there's a walkable skylight on the roof deck. It's above the fitness room, so we're just trying to get daylight into the fitness room.
Yeah, understood. I really like the design, and I especially like how you all have worked together to figure out what will be both compatible with your neighbors and also work for your clients. So you make our job much easier when you work like that. So thank you.
All right, great. Over to you, Valerie.
I have no questions. I think the project is aesthetically fitting the neighborhood as well as the complements like the existing house. So I have no questions. Thank you.
Any?
Yeah, this would be a question to the owners. What's your position on the issue of whether the deck gets covered in the future or not?
Go ahead, step up to the microphone, please.
It is not our intention to cover the deck with a trellis or any sort of anything that would raise the roof line.
Okay.
It's not objectionable.
Okay, thank you. That's it. There.
Okay. I just had one question about the view from Verona, and when the neighbor has a chance to comment, we'll find out if he has anything to say. Staff took a photo from across the street, I believe. You've got some photos there, Claire, of One Verona Place. Right.
For the staff report,
Yeah, I think so.
let me quickly get that over to Claire.
So the reason I asked, oh, by the way, my sympathies for your PG&E upgrade.
Yes. And fire sprinklers too.
I can see that underway, and I'm good luck. So when you stand in front of One Verona Place with that staff shot, you're looking at from the hedge there, right? You're standing in front of the hedge at One Verona Place, looking out. And so I was trying to understand what you guys went through with regard to the view from One Verona Place. And seeing that you dropped the second story down is a significant takedown of the height of the building, and it matches the roof line. When I stood there that day, it was foggy on the horizon. I couldn't see Tam. All I saw was the church. But so you guys work something out with regard to what is visible, and it sounds like I think that the house looks better as a shortened height, and it gets down to an equal height to the rest of the roof. So let's see, somewhere in here is that. And I'm bringing this up just so that the neighbor can comment here. When the moment arises, we'll ask for his comment. So this is that view right here. And when you look, if you're standing over there at One Verona Place, the photo was taken from in front of that hedge or from the sidewalk?
It's from the edge of curb,
Okay,
kind of in the center of their property line, I think.
okay. So,
I think one thing also, we were considering what you'd see from the house, because the house is a couple steps up from the hedge where the picture is taken. So their hedge is kind of like below their sight line. So the front porch is a few steps higher than standing on ground. So
right, okay.
changes
so,
the perspective a little.
Yeah. I don't know what
It's
looks.
hard to see from that picture. It just looks like a big
Yeah,
hedge.
it's hard to see what One Verona Place sees
Right.
across the way there.
But you can see over the hedge when you're on the porch
Okay,
at like the main level of their house. So then the roof would the old roof was blocking a view of
yeah,
Tam.
okay, even
Keeping
that,
it
right,
in
okay.
plane with the existing roof was a huge improvement. And also because we pulled back the roof above the fitness room,
Damn.
there's no enlarged volume there at all. So it's only 14 feet at that point of the garage. So.
Yeah, okay, all right. So if we're done with questions, anybody else have another?
I have just one observation. When I have a picture of it, when I stood behind the car that was parked in the driveway,
Mm-hmm.
the story pole that's the most forward story pole is cutting off your view of Mount Tam
From the driveway.
from the driveway.
Okay.
Is that what you expected?
Yeah, I mean, there'd be, I think, depending on where you look, there's always going to be some obstruction just from the new volume, but I guess it depends on where where you establish which
stand,
views
yeah.
are most important, right? So yeah, I think everyone seems satisfied with the current.
I'm just saying that anyone passing by on the sidewalk there,
Right.
that view is cut off.
Okay. Nothing else? Then we'll let you sit down.
All right.
Okay. And before we get to anything else, we're done. If we're done with questions, then we can see if there's any public comment for this project. So this is your opportunity, sir. If you want to speak to this, you have 3 minutes and you can make a statement.
Thank you. I first want to say this place is amazing. It's beautiful what you guys built. So we're glad to see it's here. And it's so crowded. Well, thank you for having us. Jackie and John are obviously been our neighbors for the last 7 years. My wife and I have lived at One Verona for the last 30 since it was built. They were all built in 97. And your question, Margaret, about water, 97 was the year they had that huge rain, and somehow we all survived and didn't float away. So the lots did very well. I would say that we're fully in support of their project, first of all. And I think, as Tracy shared. I think our only concern is really in reference to the patio that they built on the second story. As long as they decide not to put giant olive trees or some sort of screening over the top or something like that, or we'll be right back where we were on the first rendition with sort of a full height second story that is really in our view line. So other than that, I think they were very gracious, and as you guys have commented on, you know, they worked hard to make that thing sort of squished and over to the side so that we continue to have our view. And we certainly appreciate that. And I know we've got an amazing set of houses on that street with a great group of neighbors. We all hang out together all the time. So I just think we're very lucky. So we wish them a lot of success. And I just went through a remodel of our house, and we just got our sewer line just put in today, which I don't know if you guys have that coming yet, but it's a good bill. But thank you very much. And certainly that's the only thing we really want to just sort of add to this thing, is that whether they're the owner or somebody in the future is the owner, that at least they have something in there that says, hey, we just don't want that something built on that second story above the patio.
Okay, thank you very much. We hear you
You're
loud
welcome.
and clear.
Thank you all.
All right. Claire, do you have any hands raised online?
No hands online.
Okay, so at this moment, then we can close the public comment section of this item, and we can take it back here for discussion amongst the commissioners. I think that we have, reading the tea leaves, reasonable support for the project, but I'll start over there with you, Valerie, and see what your thoughts are.
I have no objections of approving this project, but with the condition that nothing will be built over, no coverage will be built over the roof deck. That will be permanent.
We would put that in as a condition of approval, and it would ride with the property so that that couldn't happen down the road. Okay. Daniel.
Well, I want to give you a lot of credit for working with your neighbor and being able to work something out. I actually think that the way things worked out aesthetically, from my taste, is my perspective is better. And I think the architect's done a really good job of matching what's already there in your house in terms of the gable roofs and breaking down the scale with the gable roofs. Proposing very high quality materials. It's consistent, I think, with the terms of the town's general plan and with the design review requirements, as the staff report has clearly articulated. So I support the project, and I would support an amendment to no structure roof over the deck.
Very good. All right. Then I'll go over to you, Margaret, see what you have to say.
I like the project mostly because it spreads out laterally rather than makes itself higher and higher. And I think that goes along with a lot of the things in the general plan. I think it's doubling the size of just about a house there. I mean, my personal feeling is it's just humongous. It's just huge. And I would like in the future to see some town guidance about the size of homes on the size of lots. Just because that part of Corte Madera is very, excuse me, is very much different kinds of homes, much smaller. And Verona Place, though, is a special little cul-de-sac. And it's sort of a space unto itself. I think it's will be a beautiful home. I think it's well planned, and I think the thing that I find interesting is it's maintained the idea of being a ranch style, which I think is great. I would add to the no roof on top of that deck as also no large potted trees, which would also block the view, or huge potted plants going up to block the view.
All right, thank you very much. And Andrew,
Personally, I think the size of the project is fine, given that it's on an acre and given the neighborhood precedent. That's my feeling. I'm curious about, we all agree that there should be some restriction even on a future owner of not covering that deck. I'm just wondering if the property sold in 20 years and somebody new comes along and wants to do something there, is there some mechanism that would have this come up for the new permit application? I don't think it needs to be a deed restriction, but I'm just wondering if there's something that protects the gentleman at 1 Verona.
This is probably a condition of approval that's on the more difficult side to have future staff be aware of in 20 years' time. They would still need to abide by the condition of approval. It doesn't go away.
For a future owner.
Correct.
In X number of years. Okay.
They would, if they wanted it to go away, they would apply. And when we get building permits for, today, if they were to cover this roof area, they would need design review.
Okay.
Just for the covering because it's more than 15 feet in height.
Got it.
The threshold for design review in R1B is 500 square foot of addition or changes to the building, additions to the building, even if it's not enclosed building area that are more than 15 feet in height. So at that point, assuming our design review threshold stays the same and we're still able to do design review, that's when we do the look back at previous design reviews, even when they're very old.
Got it.
So there's a mechanism, but who knows what the future holds in terms of design review. So,
But you're not retiring for 50 years anyway, right?
a building permit, do we do a full look back into the property file? If there's something unusual, we do. So like I said, this is a difficult one, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
very good. Thank you, Andrew. Well, they're never going to sell because their kids are going to grow up in the house and then they're going to take that unit. So I'm just going to say that I think the improvement by lowering that roof line, it helps the project. I agree with Andrew that I think the square footage of this addition at half the size of the existing house, again, is acceptable given the immense size of the lot. There are very few lots like that in Corte Madera. So I think it's appropriate that a large lot can handle a big house. And we certainly need houses like that in Corte Madera that are for multi-generational families, so to speak. So I'm glad to see it. I thought at first that the addition looked a little ungainly, but I think that it's actually better than the existing garage on the side of the house. I think it comports with the rest of the architecture of the house. It'll be an improvement rather than the garage. And I'm glad to see that you've chosen to dedicate a workout room rather than turning the garage into a workout room. So that's what everybody else does. So it'll be great that you'll use your garage to keep the cars off the street. So I think that we would support a motion here with the condition that no trellis or structure above that second story deck and no large planted material. You're not going to plant anything very big up there anyway. It would go through the ceiling. But in any case, that can be the condition that we would place on it. So I would entertain a motion from anybody to say that we approve the project with that condition of no second story trellis or covering of that deck and no large objects planted on that rooftop.
I have a question of procedure.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure I would support the tree issue. I mean, how big is big, you know? And I think that they want some plants there that are not they have a good relationship with their neighbor. I just don't think that's measurable and enforceable. So I can't say I would vote against it with that term in there, but I'm not crazy about it.
Okay, well, that's a good point. So, other commissioners weigh in on that? Margaret?
I think that, well, my reference point is the way they put trees on top of the deck on the Restoration Hardware building.
That's a different story. It's a concrete pan deck building. They're not gonna do a tree like that on this. wood
Well,
deck.
I'm not saying that they would.
Right.
I'm saying that a large tree obstructs a view as much as any kind of formal structure.
Mhm.
And if somebody wanted to put a trellis wall there or a large plant, it would defeat the purpose of what we've just talked about, the neighbor having the view that they have now.
Okay. All right, Andrew, your thought?
I agree with Dan. I don't think we want to overprescribe that.
Okay.
Tree.
Valerie?
Just the question for thought. I wonder if we limit the plant size for the planter. I don't know if that's going to help to bring the Margaret's point of view to.
Well, they're not gonna put anything over, how many pounds per square foot can we put there? Not that many. So anything over a 2-foot planter is not gonna sit.
It's
up
not going to
there.
even sit there. Yeah.
So it can't be that big.
So I would be okay dropping it.
Okay, all right. So then I think we have a consensus. I would agree with that, we can just do it for a trellis or covering over that deck. So who will make a motion then? Anybody?
I've already crafted this condition if you want me to read it out and see
Yeah.
if it suits the commissioners. The roof deck shall be built in accordance with the approved design review plans and shall not be covered with a trellis, roof, eave extension, awning, or similar structure in the future.
Yeah, what she said.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
That's
make a
good.
motion.
Go ahead, please. Yes.
So I move in the matter of design review application PL 250049 for a 720 square foot second story addition and a 1,806 square foot first story addition to the existing one-story residence at 2 Verona Place with the additional condition as stated by Tracy.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay, then let's take a roll call, please.
Commissioner Bandel,
Yes,
Commissioner Bushoyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers, Vice Chair Kenny,
Yes.
and Chair Chase.
Yes. Guess what? You're gonna build an addition, so. Yeah. Oh, wait, Tracy, do you have anything to say?
Yes, there are appeal rights following action by the planning commission at a public hearing or meeting. Any decision of the planning commission may be appealed to the town council within 10 calendar days. Appeal forms are available at the planning department at town hall or online. A $1,500 filing fee is required.
Thank you so much. All right. Best wishes. All right. All right. So Dan, did you go attend a meeting that I couldn't attend? And then a follow-up meeting?
I did. Well, I can try to read my notes, but I can't find that. That's okay.
Okay,
Okay. So this is the town council meeting of January 2nd, 2026. It was an interesting meeting, particularly because in the public comment section, there was quite a few people. One person spoke to feeling that the design review process was too onerous and too restrictive. There were many people, including high school students and others, who spoke to wanting the town to start limiting a sale of tobacco products in town. And there was another group of people that were hoping that the council would make a project to rehabilitate the chamber steps. That neighborhood uses those steps and they're in quite disrepair. And they were hoping that the council would add that to their work plan.
Painter steps. Painter. They go up from Kevin Park up to. No.
It's off of Chapman.
Okay, it's just.
Um, then the town took up a issue of additional assessment. The school board and the representative talked about the need to do significant renovations to the high school that had to do with maintenance and deferred maintenance. And this is just, we're notifying the town council that they're going to seek an additional assessment that would be $24.10 per 100,000 assessed value. And that would allow them to access $7.9 million state grant, matching grant. And they were just letting the town council know that they were going to proceed with that. It's a public hearing on the flood ordinance that was really required to rescind something that was on the books and then reenact an ordinance to be consistent with two Senate bills, 1663 and 1046. There is a business item to budget $420,000 plus contingency, total of $435,000 for the rehabilitation of fields on I'm sorry, that's wrong. Menke Park plan. I'm sure you're aware of that. They passed $435,000 for the construction, mostly related to better ADA access and some other things. And there was an ADA report presented to the town, and that was approved. There were some questions about implementation priorities, and now that we have the report, what's the town's liability for actually taking action? And that seemed to satisfy the answer from the consultant, seemed to satisfy the town council. There was discussion about the change by the town manager about the change in the town's attorney, which we've just become aware of. There was approval of the Building Code Appeals Board membership, which we had our first meeting today. And then they talked about the strategic planning workshop, which was held on the January 23rd. And there was also some comment about the flood damage to the corporate yard and setting aside $250,000 for flood damage repairs.
Wow.
So
okay.
you missed a good meeting, Peter.
I would say, yeah, important.
The next one was February 3rd. And it was a very short meeting. There was just one comment in the public comment period or about possibly building a berm for flood control. There was a comment about SB 9 and that it was that Senate Bill 9, there's a new ordinance which is more restrictive to the current subdivision code relative to house size and location. There was a discussion of financial support for the Chamber of Commerce. And there was some concern that there wasn't a long-term plan yet for the stabilization of the Chamber of Commerce's budget, but the council did approve $50,000 available as needed for 2026 to buy some time for looking at a more comprehensive approach. And there was a transfer agreement to transfer $1 million from the general fund to the capital fund and $200,000 park and rec capital fund. And the 1 million fund could fund capital projects in the next 4 years. And based on the 5-year plan we have. And also Parks and Rec could use the money not only for play fields, but for the new reconstruction of the playground. And that's it.
Okay, well, thank you for that. 2 meetings in a row. So we'll talk about what I can do to take one off of your plate down the road.
If necessary, thank you.
Yeah. Before, I want to ask Amy if she's able to talk about this design
Anybody
review
want to
thing.
hear about December 16th?
Oh, goodness. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, that's right. Go ahead, please.
Well, a lot of it got decided in the ones Dan took over, but the public comment time was a man stood up and wanted everybody to understand that Marin County is the most inequitable county in the state of California, and apparently he's a frequent flyer at the meetings with this same issue in mind. Then there was a recognition of the outgoing mayor and a welcome for the new mayor. The consent calendar, everything was approved. And there was consideration to introduce or actually change our rules or laws about reusable foodware. There's the new state law. One was effective January 1st, 2025, that said that pre-checkout bags had to be recycled or compostable. However, effective January 1st, 2026, all film plastic checkout bags are banned, and only recycled paper bags can be used at checkouts for 10 cents a bag. This will also become a requirement of food facilities selling ready-to-eat food, providing they have to provide their takeout food in recyclable paper bags. And it applies to grocery stores selling food, takeout food, and I guess grocery food, retail stores with pharmacies, convenience stores, food marts, liquor stores, and restaurants. And that's a proposal. I guess it has to still be adopted. And then there was consideration of the proposal to adopt fire protection impact fees. And apparently Corte Madera's fees will be larger than Larkspur's fees, even though it's a joint Corte Madera Larkspur Fire Department, because Corte Madera has larger fire stations and there's a higher expected population growth in Corte Madera, and the density in Corte Madera is higher. So that was the second reading and possible adoption. And apparently the fee would only offset funding if, for instance, a fire station needed replacing. So it wouldn't be the primary funding. It would be like a secondary kind of funding. And that was adopted. And it was a long meeting. Then the Chamber of Commerce budget came up and as Dan said, $50,000 was approved. I learned apparently the Chamber of Commerce will lose a great deal of money when the Best Western closes, because the Best Western contributed a lot to the Chamber of Commerce money. And apparently the 4th of July celebration, which costs $55,000 for only one day, is being questioned too. And someone brought up the fact that they don't know why the Chamber of Commerce actually has to bear the burden of the 4th of July celebration. And then the town park playground project was approved. And then there was a review of the 2025 work plan. And then new council members were appointed for various committees and joint authority boards. That was it.
Well, that's an eye opener. Thank you, Margaret. Did this gentleman commenting on inequity have a solution?
Well, not that I
Okay.
heard.
All right, just curious. All right.
But apparently he's felt very strongly about it.
Thank you very much. So I started to ask Amy if she could even comment on this design review issue.
Yes, a gentleman came to the town council meeting and he does come once in a while, about every other month, with a different issue. And I have tried to talk with him, but he does not want to engage. But at this particular time, he talked about design review and felt it was onerous and the process wasn't clear and it's a lot of work to do. And then another gentleman also agreed with him from the audience. I think he was here for another issue for the Tainter Steps. And nothing ever came of that. I was anticipating there would be a discussion at our council staff work plan to talk about the threshold for design review and to see if there was appetite to explore changing that, but it didn't come up. So, but if that gentleman wants to come back and talk with us, we're happy to engage about the design review process and try to understand what happened.
So he wasn't specific about what part of the process he took issue?
No.
Is this the gentleman who has been in government roles for a number of years? He said, I was mayor here, I was this there, I was that there. No, that's not that guy.
I think so.
Okay.
No.
All
I
right.
don't think I ever got his profession.
All right. Well, what else do you want to tell us about here?
Well, I don't have much, but I will say Dan mentioned that there is a new board of building appeals. And I just wanted to really thank Peter and Dan for serving on this committee and this new board. It is something that's been in our code for a long time and we've never had to form the board, but we did have an appeal of a citation so that the board met today. It was Peter and Dan and then Councilmember Beckman. And that was a lot of work and a lot of time. So I really appreciate that you all, accepted our invitation to join that board. And hopefully it won't be a regular thing, but we really appreciate your commitment and time on top of
course.
what you already do for us. So the only other thing I wanted to note is that we do have an update happening right now of our commercial code. And the whole team is working on that, but Martha's leading the effort. And we do have a survey out right now. We're trying to get as much input as possible through that survey. So it does close on the 16th. So we extended it a few days just to make sure we get input. And Martha will be doing some more outreach over the next week or so about that survey. So please share that as possible. I know you said you've shared it recently. So happy to answer any questions about that. And then the next few agendas, the next agenda, we don't have a lot on the agenda, but we are extremely busy for some reason this part of the year. And so we do anticipate that your agendas are going to be very full. So we may have to put 3 items on an agenda, for instance. So we'll just let you know as that progresses. But we have a lot of projects kind of stacking up that will probably be coming in March and April. So I just wanted to give you that heads up there. And then the commercial code, that will actually be coming to your commission for a study session in March. I think it's the last meeting in March. And that's all I have for you tonight.
I do have a couple of questions or comments for Amy. So I thought the survey was very good. I'm really glad you're doing it. How will the results be communicated to the public? That's one question. And the other question is, how have you reached out to organizations in town?
So we do have a consultant that's helping us with that effort. So we do plan to synthesize the results, and we will publish that as widely as we put out the announcement for the survey. The survey was advertised on our normal outlets for the newsletter, social media. We have sandwich boards out at all the various shopping centers with a QR code for the survey. We've been trying everything we can to get it as far and wide. And then we've also really tried to make sure that our business community is aware and is taking the survey. So our Chamber of Commerce sent it to their membership. We know the village, the manager at the village actually walked around to each tenant and had them take the survey. And I believe we'll be doing something similar at Town Center. So we've really been focused on really on the business community, making sure that they have input, because it really that our main focus is to make things more business friendly, streamline how businesses can re-tenant, streamline parking, and kind of understand what their community needs. But of course, the larger community of residents is valuable as well. So we invite all input.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Margaret.
So Amy, did on the future agendas of the planning commission or the town council for next year, did the agenda item about the time frame for building come up?
It did. So I noted that in the staff report, and we did not decide to promote it for this specific year, primarily because we are so busy. So we do have a lot of items that are carrying over from last year, many of which are related to our housing element that we have to implement. The commercial code effort, we actually started last year, was on our work plan. And then we are anticipating quite a few large development projects. We've got the assisted living project at 56 Madera. We are still working on 240 Tamil Vista on that building permit issuance in that process. And then we have the Macy's project that will be incoming imminently as well.
So the answer is no.
Not for this year, but it is on the list and something that we're going to continue at.
The fee code was adopted, right? When was that adopted?
Our fee for the building and planning fees?
Yes,
Yes, that was adopted and in effect as of July 20.
it was. Okay. And those fines we were discussing today were a part of that.
Actually, those were more recent. So those were adopted in October, November. So they were in effect in December. So the higher citation amount is new.
Great. Okay. All right. So I will just state that I will be out of country May 12th for whatever reason. Anyway. Okay. Well, I don't think that we have anything else to discuss, do we? There's no minutes, right? Nothing. All right. Let's go home. I call this meeting over.